Clock Challenge.
That beat the clock challenge. Let's see if we can. Just time always works against us.
It does seem to do that. As it happens to be, time continues to spin forward no matter what we do.
Seems
Although
very unfair.
I did see that there are some advances happening in anti-aging and possibly reverse aging things. But let's say that you do not live in the future and you can live to be like 300 or something, as Ron Burgundy famously said, with advances in modern science. Or not Ron Burgundy. That was Talladega Nights. Different movie.
Ricky Bobby, wrong Will Ferrell character.
Wrong Will Ferrell character, but still in the spirit of, let's say that you could live for whatever length of time, but you could only do 10 exercises. Like, you can't add additional exercises. You can choose any manipulation of the exercise, but you can only do 10 exercises for the rest of your life. For people interested in the source of this inspiration, check out Chris Bumstead, the guy that is the multi-time Olympia winner for classic bodybuilding, classic physique. He definitely harkens back to the golden era of bodybuilding with Arnold and Serge Nubret, Frank Colombo, all those guys. He looks like that. And he was asked what his 10 would be. So
yeah, and when you pitched this idea, like I thought almost like we needed to do like a draft, like of like with one of us picks an exercise, the other one can't, because I have a feeling we're gonna both pick similar exercises. But I also there's a caveat. So with this, is if it's just, is it exercises that I like? Is it exercises that as a trainer and a coach I feel are more functional and beneficial? Because those aren't necessarily the same thing, as we can go back to and listen on previous podcasts where we've talked about some of your favorite exercises.
Right. If you look back at the podcast from Franchise Nutrition and Fitness, you can see where we've cited these are our favorite exercises for this muscle group. We did it throughout our Keep It Simple, Stupid series. And also we intermittently talk about things that are body weight based versus machine based, bands, across the strength curve. There's a lot of different ways you can come at an exercise, but I would say if it's you, so personally, and thinking about longitudinal, and you will not be able to do any anti-aging or reverse aging abilities, you are going to have to do these exercises from now in your current body state through forever. And let's say you live the average male age to be around 70 years old. So you have close to 30 or 40 years left of doing the same exercise forever. Same set of 10. What are you going to pick?
I mean, I think my number one is going to be similar to the article you were referencing. I just did like day to day, and I always tell any client I work with, it's the absolute most functional exercise there is. I got to go with the squat because of the variations of it. Like, you think about everything we do. If I get in the car, I'm sitting down to squat. If I get out of the car, I'm sitting down to squat. If I get up and go, hey, I'm done with this damn podcast, I'm squatting out of the chair. If I'm bending over to pick something up, I'm squatting. So I feel like that's the most functional, be all, end all movement that there is. And there's a million different variations you can do for anyone, just for myself who has some lower body issues, multiple different surgeries, all the way up to somebody who's, hey, I can put up 800 pounds on the barbell and rep it out. It's the most functional movement that does.
If you had to pick a squat variation that you're going to do forever.
Oh, and I see now you had a caveat.
I'm just saying, this is the forever thing. If you can only do 10 exercises for the rest of your life, sure, a squat's going to be in there. But is that just standing out of a chair? Or are you going to be doing a box squat? Are you do barbell box squat? Are you going to, where are you going?
For me personally, probably just the good old standard old fashioned barbell back squat.
Okay.
And go back to our previous episodes and yeah,
Mhm.
listen to the fact that that's such a huge flip for me. I'm like, God, I don't want to do a squat. Like I'd rather do a bench. But if we're
Yeah.
going, it's like if we're going anti-aging and for a lifetime. Let's go barbell back squat.
Yeah. I would agree with Matt on that. Chris Bomstead said a Smith machine squat. My only hesitation with using the Smith, I don't have anything against the Smith. If it was for the extent of your lifetime, it may end up being that it's kind of impossible for you to get in that position for that to be adequate for you, because some Smith machines aren't perfectly vertical. They kind of go back at an angle. So that's going to give you some variation. But with a barbell, any barbell, you could use a 45-pound barbell. You could use a Bella bar that's around 15 to 20 pounds,
A broomstick
a
is a barbell.
broomstick, even, or a PVC pipe. Getting your body into the form to be able to go down and back up. So any barbell back squat, yes, I'm in agreement there. And the next exercise, if I had to pick, would be a dumbbell or single arm bench press. So Matt loves the bench press. The barbell bench press, as much as we love it, is not necessarily good on your wrists, elbows, or shoulders. It's a fantastic way to
and
show.
not super functional.
Yeah. However, a dumbbell bench press, you can rotate your hands to be more in a neutral grip. You'll be able, that ends up being a more functional push variation, whether you're pushing up or you push at an angle, and it's going to be easier on your joints. So especially as you get older, that's going to be a little bit more beneficial to keeping your forearms, your elbows, and your shoulders from hating you while you're attempting to do this kind of exercise when you're in your 60s and 70s. So that's my bench press variation.
Similarly, I would say for me an incline dumbbell chest press.
Mm,
Little bit
okay.
less stress on my shoulder joints when I do that. I like that one a lot better. So yeah, it's for the same reason rationale behind you, just like changing the angle of it.
Yeah. When I bench, dumbbell, or barbell, I go, my angle's always at a curve. It's not really a straight line.
As it
So I
should
don't
be,
really,
yeah. Yeah, that arc.
yeah. So I feel like that's easier on my shoulders personally with a dumbbell versus if I'm doing incline, and this is, people have this problem. I am more shoulder than chest on the press. You know what I'm saying? Like I can
Absolutely not.
feel it. I can definitely, I'm not, I'm probably winging out my elbows, which is not what you're supposed to do. And that's probably why I end up being more shoulder than chest. If
Perhaps you should sign up for a free meet and greet with Franchise Nutrition and Fitness. We can actually help you correct that elbow flaring that you have.
yeah, I know specifically what my problem is. It is definitely a common problem. On the other side of it, if I had to go with another exercise, I would say a trap bar deadlift, whether open trap bar or a closed trap bar, doesn't matter, but not a regular barbell deadlift, to decrease the risk of injury, especially when I'm older.
Yeah, to me, there's always that risk versus reward. And I've talked about that over and over and over again on this podcast. But yeah, with deadlifts, to me, for a lot of people, the risk outweighs the reward. For myself included, we've talked about that before with our quest for the big three. I've had two different physical therapists tell me not to deadlift because of issues with my lower back, and sometimes I'll still ignore them and do some deadlifts, but usually I don't. When I do that hex bar, that trap bar deadlift's a good variation for me, and definitely puts a lot less stress on my lower back. If for my next one, I would actually pick, which could be slightly controversial for sticking with the deadlift. So let's go controversial. Would be an upright row. I would, yeah, I would choose probably a dumbbell variation of the upright row, because I find that to be, again, yet a very functional exercise. Think about it if you're picking up something, like I always think about picking up the trash bag. Like if I get the trash out of the can, what is that movement? That's an upright row right there.
Are you going to
So
go
that's
dumbbell or barbell?
I'd go dumbbell.
Dumbbell? Yeah. I also would appreciate the dumbbell. You
I'd
can,
go dumbbell that way.
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, you're good. No, we're waiting on each other.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my,
No. For like so the dominant side doesn't take over. Like I think it's very, and that's why a lot of times in my training personally and with clients that I work with, a lot of dumbbell variations. Been doing that a lot lately with the recovery for the arm, and yeah, like, and you
yeah,
see like, yeah, how crazy that the imbalances can be. But yeah, so like the dumbbell variation, that way you're not just snatching everything up with your dominant arm.
yeah. I was going to say, you made the point that I was making that you could definitely create imbalances with the barbell on an upright row. You won't
Absolutely.
even know. Like it's so subtle, you won't realize that this arm is pulling slightly more on the load. Um, then, and I don't find I guess maybe the other circles that I'm not in, I don't find the upright row to be that controversial. I think what the controversy is your form.
The
People,
form, and I think the range of motion for some people of like the coming up, like bringing it to the chin almost. Yeah, like again, going back to like I said, proper form. Proper form, no, it's not controversial whatsoever. Elbows 90 degrees, you're fine. But I think a lot of times it's kind of that old school like bodybuilder mentality of pulling up to the chin.
yeah. And I would go, so we did squat, bench, deadlift, upright row. I would go with a dumbbell seated shoulder press. So you will inevitably have to push something above your head at some point in your life, whether
Absolutely.
it's putting a can of food up on a pantry or getting something down off of a pantry shelf and coming down. You have to be able to control that weight going up and down on a shoulder press. So, in the unilateral effect of dumbbells, making sure that you're balanced out, definitely going to be beneficial to you long run.
Absolutely. My next one, let's go tried and true. I'm gonna go a dumbbell biceps curl.
Ooh,
Yeah, I was thinking about this one earlier, getting groceries earlier, grabbing out that case of beer. Yeah, I grabbed it out of the trunk and I pulled it up. Like it was elbow flexion. I had to get it up there like so many times throughout the day. It's elbow flexion. Constantly need to use those biceps to pull stuff. So I would go dumbbell biceps curl again. So that way, not creating muscle imbalances with just doing the barbell because it's so easy to do. Just snatch stuff up with your dominant side.
yeah. And then I would go with a dumbbell single arm tricep extension.
Like
So,
overhead. Like,
like a
yeah.
French press kind
Yeah.
of thing. But, and that personally, that is kind of like a risk versus reward thing. Because if you go too far down, you're cranking too much on your uh, cubital nerve there, and you're going to cause some problems. So you got to be very cautious on the downside. But again, it goes back to the same thing I was talking about with the shoulder press. You're using a very similar muscle set. You're just isolating your triceps there. So with that, that can help with additional things. If you ever have to push yourself up out of a chair, you're going to be using a lot of tricep with your hands pushing yourself up out of the chair, and also using your back and your shoulders. But isolating that moment arm is going to help out with all those other things because it's a secondary muscle to a lot of the other exercises that we mentioned before.
Absolutely. Right. For going my next
So,
pick, I'm going like a bent over dumbbell row. either
Okay.
with stabilizing on a bench, or if you're one of those assholes in the gym, just standing at the rack and stabilizing, or if your core strength is good enough that you don't have to stabilize, just bending over and standing there in place. But again, going back to functional strength, think about how many times I have to bend over and pick something up off the floor, whether it's a cat that's in my lap right now, or like if I drop something, picking up groceries, like a number of different things that I want to make sure I'm able to do for a lifetime.
I think it's 9. It's 8 or 9.
Okay, let's say 8, because we need to have one more each big grand finale. Let's have a controversial pick. What's the craziest one you can think of that? Oh, all right. So let's say not like, so you've said like functional, like to last a lifetime. Just what's the dumbest exercise that you enjoy that you
Uh,
just want to stick in there for no reason?
yeah. Um, hmm.
See, that's harder than like thinking about like, because we both came prepped with like, hey, here's these exercises we're gonna do and why. Like, just like, hey, I just like this one. No particular reason. I just enjoy it.
Yeah. This probably a man thing, right? I really enjoy like heavy shrugs. Like really technically kind of functional, right? You have to carry your groceries and pick them up. But when it's heavy and you almost like a rack pull kind of shrug.
It's such a
This
nice, fun ego lift too. To go,
that's all that it is.
I shrug 150-pound dumbbells. It's great. Like it's yeah,
Right. Yeah. It's not really helping. It's probably hurting you more than it's helping you at that
yeah.
point in
Because you
time.
think about the muscle imbalance, like your upper trapezius muscles, like we're constantly sitting here all the time, like typing. Lower trapezius is getting nothing, but like, damn it, I can do a super heavy shrugs. Life is good.
Yeah.
Like,
If I roll my upper back a little bit forward, not to the point where I'm going to hurt myself, but if I go a little bit forward and just rip something off the rack, it's like, all right, the clang of the plates, the sound that it makes.
yeah, like just like like the great thing about shrugs, if you're doing a barbell variation, is like if you're like a well-trained male individual that's been doing this for a while, you theoretically can put enough plates on the bar to make it bend.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's no cooler feeling in the entire world than seeing that. You're like, I'm a badass. It means nothing in the grand scheme of things because you and I have both watched guys bench press with the bar bending, and I certainly can't do that.
Yeah,
But this just to have that feeling of like I am a god for half a second as
yeah.
you're shrugging. Yeah, no, I get that.
um, yeah, well, that would be mine. Like my most ridiculous has no. But what about you, Matt? What's your ridiculous?
I mean, we're gonna go back to what I always say. It's gonna be flat barbell bench press. Because what's the first thing anybody asks you if they tell you, "Hey, I'm a health coach. Hey, I'm a personal trainer. Hey, I own franchise nutrition and fitness. Hey, I've been lifting for 20 years." They're gonna ask, "How much do you bench?" Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if I just had elbow surgery. Doesn't matter if my shoulders are screwed. People care how much you bench. It's
Right.
stupid. It means nothing. Like your only competition is yourself. But like it's an ego thing. I think that anybody that produces any amount of testosterone is like, I want bench press because I think that's the first thing. Like that and curls. Like it's the first thing I think any male that like grows up wanting to be Arnold, wanting to be a superhero. It's like, oh, I lift weights. What do you do? Well, I bench and curl. So like we talked about curls already. Like it's like, hey, how much you bench? I bench X number. Like, all right, cool. Like, so
Yeah.
barbell flat bench press.
Yeah, it is nice to be able to bench big numbers. I have never had that feeling that it was nice. So never.
Like it's great when you do it. Like really, it's all relative too. Because like I tell somebody, I maxed out at 300. And there's somebody that's like, I maxed out at 500. Who cares? And I'm like, well, I felt like I was going to dislocate my shoulder. I will never get it again. But
Yeah.
for me, it was like the greatest accomplishment of my life.
Yeah. I was pretty confident that if I could not get this weight up, it would crush my face and I would be dead. But I did it. I made
So
it.
success.
Yeah. So my spotter was not spotting appropriately. It terrified me. I managed to get it up. But Either way, for those of you out there, those of you who listen to the Franchise NF podcast, go back and listen to our other podcast episodes. Check us out at franchisenf.com. And wherever you find your video podcasts, be sure to check us out. Either way, share it with your other friends. Like we say every week, maximize every bite.
And on that bench press particularly, maximize every rep.